How's it going, everybody? Welcome. It's Tuesday, May 31st, and it is the last day of May. And it is the end of yesterday was Memorial Day. So I hope everybody had a good longer weekend. I didn't have a long weekend. Of course I worked. But hey, we're here. Tomorrow OTA resumes with the media. Today they went back to practices, but of course there's no media coverage. But we still got to talk about it. Hopefully we get to see some footage again tomorrow, and it'll be all nice and dandy. But let's talk about OTAs. Drop some questions. Let's hear what you guys have to say. I do want to talk about OTAs coming up, preview it a little bit, because it's fun to talk about the team, right? And there's a lot of questions coming into this OTA. A lot of the rookies, are getting their chance to shine and get their reps in. It's always a fun, exciting time for the rookies. So we'll get to see what happens with them. And then you got players that are jockeying for a position, right? Camp battles are raging and starting to kind of form. You get these players that are really coming in, figuring out where they're going to be on the roster. And then once training camp comes, they used everything they put in OTAs, and then they grow from that. So a lot of positions still, undecided. It's still early. O-line, right? Cornerback, D-line. There's so much depth. So we'll talk about that. Cornerback, something that's crazy. I was reading some stuff today. Jason Verrett has been a leader in that clubhouse, so we'll talk about that. My man, Sad Niner fan, what's up? Any Debo update? No updates with Debo, so no news is usually good news. But I think, they're going to go through this season, this off season, let it all happen, let it all play out. It's almost June. We'll say tomorrow's the 1st of June. On the 13th of June is mandatory minicamp, and they expect Debo to be there. So if he's there, that's pretty good news. If he's not there, we'll take it as it goes. So no update on Debo Samuel, but the other receivers have showed up to OTAs, and it's good to see that. And I think that receiving group is pretty solid. You have Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, you have Juwan Jennings, who's entering a third year, and Juwan Jennings was very, very solid. We talked about him a lot, and I want to see the continued growth of Juwan Jennings. And then you got Ray McLeod, Danny Gray. I mean, these receivers are pretty solid, I think the only problem is they don't have a lot of depth after those guys. Who's going to be on there? Who's going to be on that depth chart? Because if an injury happens, then you're going to be kind of pressed. Who's going to come in and play? So I think wide receivers definitely a little bit of a battle. Who's going to make it onto that roster on the practice squad? That'll be something to watch down the line. But right now, your main receivers, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, and Danny Gray. Really, there's no question marks to me in that receiver room. It's just a matter of depth. Let's see. D Ford, he gone? Yeah, he might be gone tomorrow. A couple weeks ago, I think last week, Matt Barrows of The Athletic reported that they would be releasing him soon, within the coming weeks. Tomorrow, if D Ford gets cut, they save some money. So let's pull this tweet up from Dave Lombardi. He posted about this. So I think that we might see D Ford be released tomorrow. That's my guess, so here we go. So June 1st, it says the dead money if D Ford were released today would be May 31st, would be $14.4 million. 2022 dead money if D Ford is released tomorrow or after the 1st, $5.8 million. So you don't lose as much. And then starting tomorrow, this is a key right here. Starting tomorrow, the 49ers can defer $8.6 million of that dead cap cost to 2023 and save $1.12 million of 2022 cap space. So depending on what they do, will be determined tomorrow. If they cut them tomorrow, you take a dead cap hit of $5.8 million. Now that's not as bad as if they cut them right now, taking a dead cap hit of $14.4 million, or they could defer that money. So I think something might happen tomorrow with D Ford. We'll see. Stay tuned. I think that's something that's developing. And going into OTAs, I think that's something that they're probably going to do because they have a lot of defensive linemen. We posted on Instagram, QBs beware yesterday. And, I mean, you got to really look at the depth of this D-line, This D-line is something that they pride themselves, and it's the key to this defense, right? You have so many good defensive linemen. You can't fit them all. You got Nick Bosa. You got Arik Armstead. You got, Charles Omenihu. And then you got Jordan Willis. You got Drake Jackson, who you drafted. You got Javon Kinlaw coming back from ACL tear, or reconstructive surgery, sorry. You got Kerry Hyder, who's returning back after, a 1 year hiatus, and he had his best year with the Niners. You got Samson Ebicam, who down the stretch last year was very solid. You got Toure, the guy that you got from the Colts, the edge rusher in the free agency. He looks pretty nice. He looks like a solid pass rusher. And then Mo Hurst. I mean, that's about 10 of the guys. There's still other guys out there. Kevin Givens that I didn't mention. I think Kevin Givens is very underrated. So D Ford to me wouldn't even crack the roster. He's probably gone tomorrow. So we'll see. That's definitely something to look forward to in OTAs is who is going to be on this D line. Who's the depth chart? What's the depth chart going to look like? So definitely going to be interesting to see who makes this final roster in terms of D line because this talent is abundant on the D line. And again, that's the key to this defense. The heart of this defense is a strong D line. Stack that pressure on the quarterback and take pressure off your secondary. So I'm excited to see. But I do expect D Ford to be pretty much released. So Young Hood says, yeah, we're gonna have to cut some of those guys too. I don't know. Maybe they stick with those 10. They could stick with like 10, 9 or 10 linemen, depending on how the rest of the roster looks, because they like to have that depth. They like to rotate players. So we'll see. My man Isaiah Adams, are you thinking Mac retires in the next couple days after the June 1st deadline? Again, that's another big question, and everybody's kind of considering if Alex Mack's retiring. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's going to stay. I know there is, talk about him leaving, but right now, Kyle Shanahan said that, he's in another country. He's doing his thing. He doesn't need to be there right now for OTAs and in this, early portion of the offseason. He's been in the league for 14 years. If he goes out there right now, he's going to get hurt or put his body at a weaker position going into the season. He's kind of a seasoned guy. He doesn't need all this training. He doesn't need to make his body go through all that. So I think he'll stay, but it is interesting because Lombardi did talk about the Alex Mack post June 1st cut. So let's dive into that. He did say the dead money, if Alex Mack will retire today, is a dead money hit of $2.45 million. 2022 dead money if Alex Mack retired tomorrow or after the first, $1.25 million. And then starting tomorrow, the 49ers can defer $1.225 million of that dead cap cost to 2023 and save $5.5 million total of 2022 cap space if Mack retires. So starting tomorrow, if he retires, the 49ers do save some money. But again, that's on him. I think he'll end up making the roster. Regardless if he stays or not, that is going to be a very, very big camp battle moving forward. Who's going to play center? Who's going to be the future center? And who's going to be on this O-line in general? Right? So that's something that we have to look forward to. If the 49ers were to keep Alex Mack, he's definitely your center. You have Aaron Banks, who's probably going to be your left guard, and the team is kind of excited. They put a lot of pressure on him, but they're excited because they did lose Laken Tomlinson. So that's a guy that they're looking forward to. And you got Trent Williams, of course, your left tackle. Brunskill, he's probably going to play guard. That's my guess. I think he's best suited as guard. You can slide him over to center, but that's only if Mack retires. And then you got Mike McGlinchey, who hopefully he's going to be 100% coming off that quad tear. And that would probably be your optimal lineup, right? Being on the starting offensive line. Now, if Mack retires, then it gets a little tricky, right? I think most of those guys stay where they're at. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Mike McGlinchey on the right. And then it gets tricky in the middle. Is it going to be Brunskill? Is it going to be Donovan West? Is he going to be good enough to even crack the starting roster? I don't know. And then again, like I said, Daniel Brunskill is a guy that could move over to center. And then you have who's going to be on the right guard position. Then you got Jalen Moore, you got Colton McKivitz, you got Justin Skule. Skule is a tackle, so I don't expect him going into guard. And then you got Jacob Brendel. So it gets a little tricky. Then you got the rookies from this year, right? Spencer Burton and Nick Zakel. Would one of those guys take that guard spot? So it definitely gets tricky if Alex Mack retires. And that's something that we have to take a look on in OTAs and training camp. Offensive line to me is basically going to be the biggest battle, right? The biggest battle going into camp because there's just a lot of questions. We don't know if Alex Mack's staying or going. If he stays, it makes things a lot easier, but we'll see. So take a look at some of the questions here. So Thoughts on Brunskill's son contemplating retirement. Brunskill's son, if you don't know, is Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald is Brunskill's father, right? He's his dad. I mean, Aaron Donald's done a lot. He's accomplished hell of a lot in this game. He finally won a Super Bowl. He says he's content on retiring, right? Unless he gets the money. Let's pull up the exact quotes. But yeah, if I would be happy, I would be happy if if Aaron Donald were to quit. I'm not gonna lie, right? He's a hell of a player. This is what he says. He says, "I don't need to play football to be fine. I'm at peace." He goes, he's at peace with retiring if a new contract with the Rams doesn't get worked out. So if they can't get this guy a contract, Aaron Donald, he gone, and that's him pressuring them. It's kind of like a leverage move, and he really doesn't need to play anymore. He's accomplished almost everything that you'd want, probably more than anything you want in a career. Hall of Famer, no doubt. Probably one of the best defensive players you've seen in this generation. Probably the best defensive player we've seen in the last decade. I mean, it's arguable, but guy's a beast. As a Niner fan, and he retires, I'd be happy because he's terrorized our quarterbacks for a long time, and that would really weaken the Rams. But I think he might get the contract he wants, unless the Rams somehow don't have money. But they figure out a way to pay everybody. I don't know. I wouldn't mind if Aaron Donald retired. I'm not gonna lie. I would not be mad if he retired. So we'll see. Young Hood said, "I heard Huff is looking stronger and faster." I've heard a lot of good things about Huafunga in training camp or in OTA. Sorry, I've heard a lot of good things. From what I'm hearing, is right now that safety spot next to Jimmy Ward is Hufunga's to lose, and I think he's entering this off season, with the mentality of I'm probably going to be a starter. You got to look at the second year trajectory. A lot of those guys last year were picked to be future starters, right? Aaron Banks, Trey Lance, Hufunga, Ambry Thomas, maybe, depending on how he develops, even though they have Charvarius Ward. Ambry's got a battle, and maybe Diamador Lenore, he maybe can win the slot quarterback spot eventually. But I think for sure Hufunga is looking to start. He's primed to start. And again, everything you hear right now in OTAs is Hufunga's looking nice. He's looking good. And I think he has talent. I think he has that mentality, to go out there and compete and make this position his. So we'll see. I really like Hufunga. He flashed some great potential as a rookie. He's got a good mentality. He was a hard worker in college. He was one of the top safeties coming in college. I mean, I know his combine speed and all that stuff is a little different than game day speed, but his instincts are good. He's a smart player. He plays very aggressive, and I think he just needs to keep on developing and growing. He's in the right team. You have guys like Jimmy Ward and Jason Verrett teaching him the ropes in that secondary. So I like what I'm hearing from Hufunga. Let's see if he continues to develop and wins that starter spot. But again, from everything I've heard, is Hufunga is basically, if it was to end today, of course it's early, he'd probably be a starter next to Jimmy Ward. So I'm hoping he does. I like Hufunga. I think he can be a solid starter with the 49ers. He knows their system, and he's continuing to develop in that system. Again, doesn't have elite traits, but I think he's good enough to start and be a playmaker. Some of the things that I saw last year, it's just instinct. Like that day where he picked up, the Green Bay game where he picks up the fumble, scoops it in for his touchdown. Like he saw that. He saw the ball, and instantly his mind's like, I got to pick that up and score. Like, boom, football IQ's pretty solid. He made some big plays last year. Didn't get a lot of opportunities, but when he did get his opportunities, he made the most of them. And one thing, towards the end of the season, when Tart was getting a little sore, a little banged up, they tried to keep Tart preserved, as he's a guy that's been injured his whole career, unfortunately. And what they did was they kind of mixed the two together, Hufunga and Tart, and it could kind of kept Tart a little bit healthier, going into the playoffs, and it gave Hufunga some good opportunities. So he took advantage of his opportunities last year, and I think he's going to continue to do that this offseason. So good question. I like Hufunga. I like what I hear about that. So let's see. My man, Christian Charles, what's up? Thank you for that. Couple other questions. Hello, Raj. How we doing? I'm doing great. Debtopia says, how's Smitty doing? From what I understand, he's not doing great. He has COVID, so prayers up to my boy Smitty. We're supposed to do our show tomorrow, but I don't know if he's going to make it because he is sick. We'll see what happens. He's definitely under the weather. He's got COVID, so it's been kicking his butt. So we'll see. Oh, man. My man 49ers Media says, what do you want to see from the second year players since they didn't play much? I just want to see how much they've developed. I want to see as much as I can from them. I want to see them get their reps. I hope in the preseason we see a lot from those younger players, from those second year guys. I want to see Trey Sermon. I want to see if he's improved. I want to see Hufunga. I want to see these guys out there playing. Trey Lance, of course, I think the biggest talk of the OTAs is Trey Lance. I want to see continued growth. I want to see this guy continue to show where he's at in terms of being quarterback ready, in terms of being a leader, in terms of his arm strength, in terms of being able to read that defense. I just want to see Trey Lance. I just want to see them play really, but I want to see how much they've improved. And I think Trey Lance is a guy that everybody wants to see. So if we're talking about second year players, the guy I want to see the most, of course, is Trey Lance. And then last week, apparently, he had a great week of practice, and I want him to continue to build on that. You have the media continue to doubt him. Yesterday, Colin Cowherd, let's talk about Colin Cowherd, doubted him. He says he doesn't believe in Trey. He needs to see a bigger sample size. Let's talk about that real quick. We posted this up on YouTube yesterday. Let's see what they got to say. I want to see we'll kind of go over what Colin Cowherd said yesterday. He goes, my hunch here is he's not accurate enough. He didn't play a lot in college. He played for a dominant run offense, and they've got concerns, and they just don't want to say it. He's saying that the Niners have concerns, but they don't want to admit it. Can you just play him? Give me tape. Like, why am I not seeing tape? I want to see him play. Why are you keeping Garoppolo? I'm just very suspicious. Why you keep selling me something? And then he says, not to get all philosophical here, but sometimes covering football, we cannibalize young players. We want quarterbacks drafted high to morph into, basically Colin Colin Cowherd was doubting him, and he says he doesn't believe in him. And then Peter King also, all these analysts right now are just doubting Trey. We don't know enough. We don't see enough. We got to see the kid out there. They're going to see him. He was a rookie quarterback last year, and now he's going to get his chance to show everybody. I'm just tired of everybody doubting him. And I think the media just wants to keep perpetuating this whole narrative of he's not ready, blah, 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 blah. They kept Jimmy last year. Tired of it. Everybody's been doubting Trey, and I just want to continue to see Trey Lance go out there and show his improvements. Last week there was a video on Twitter going around, and someone showed his improved mechanics. If you really watch the film, his angle looks a little bit better when he throws. He's going to be changing his mechanics. He's been working hard on that because last year everybody was saying, he wasn't accurate enough. He wasn't throwing the ball with zip enough. He puts too much. His balls are wobbling, when he throws it. He doesn't have a good spiral. So he worked hard on that. But also, I think people keep on forgetting the fact that Trey Lance, he had a messed up thumb last year. That's something that people don't realize. Or not thumb, his finger, sorry. He broke a finger last year, and it did mess up his mechanics. I'm sure of it. He even spoke about it last week in his press conference. Sorry, I had Jimmy Garoppolo. I was thinking about him and the thumb. But Trey Lance with the finger injury, that does mess up your mechanics. When you have a injury to a throwing hand, it's going to change the way you throw the ball naturally. So Trey Lance's finger injury needs to be kind of brought up more. Everybody's doubting him. I think he's going to be fine, and I just can't wait to see Trey Lance. So if we're talking about second-year players, the guy I want to see the most out of everybody, of course, is Trey Lance, and I think everybody shares that sentiment, is everybody wants to see Trey Lance. So good question. Let's take a look at some more of these here. I love how, let's see, hey, Peter Parker says, I love how all the cats talking about Trey are the ones who probably haven't watched tape, let alone seen him up close, like Kittle, etc. Yeah, all these people, all the media, they sit here and they blabber, yeah. But the people that are telling us that Trey's doing great and looking good are the people that see him every day in practice. George Kittle and all his teammates. Jimmy Ward, I've said it many times, Jimmy Ward, his locker guy, his locker mate, he's had a lot of good things to say about Trey already. And again, it's been 1 week of OTA practice. It's not like we've had weeks and months and we're like, oh my God, is he not going to be good? Really, the offseason has just pretty much started in terms of training. These guys are just barely getting out there. But, I think Trey's a guy that's been working hard on his craft, and he's only going to get better. So let the media keep hating. We're going to keep the receipts on him. Cowherd, man, usually I like Cowherd's takes, but his take yesterday was just It was pretty pathetic, just like Emmanuel Ako over the weekend. Pretty pathetic. Well, everybody's doubting Trey. Let's pull up a little bit of that Colin Cowherd clip since we're talking about it. We'll get the audio on it. Let me pull it up here, and then you guys can keep asking questions. We'll go over them as we, as we do it. Let's see. Let me pull up this clip here. Wrong one. Let's see. Sorry. Let's get this clip out of here. Gotta find it. Here it is. Okay, so here's the Colin Cowherd. Says he's not sold.
Bad quality. I don't want to be cynical, but sometimes people are selling me something, and I am a little suspicious when people are selling me stuff. I've been in this business a long time. The harder somebody's selling me something, the more questions I have. So I don't know if Trey Lance can play. Niners gave up a lot. They need to play him now. They haven't moved off Jimmy Garoppolo, so the antenna's up a little bit over here. And they're also they keep telling me how great he is. All right, and there's a couple other players. I'll get to that in a second. When Patrick Mahomes hadn't played yet in Kansas City, you know what they said? This is all they said. Wait till you see this guy. That was it. You're not going to believe this guy. That's all he said. When Mac Jones came, I'm a little bit of a critic of that. They were like, he's better than we thought. We're going to start him. Get rid of Cam. All right. Jimmy Garoppolo, they kept and played, or with Trey Lance, they kept Jimmy Garoppolo around and started him against the Packers, despite the fact that Garoppolo had a torn ligament in his thumb, and when they asked him 3 days before the Packer game how it felt, he dropped an F-bomb and said, I'm not going to lie to you, it blankety-blank hurts. And they played him in cold weather. Like, at some point, I feel like I'm being sold something here. And this is just my gut, because I know the kid and I like him. But my gut is the Niners don't demand a ton from the quarterback. They don't. It's a very run-centric offense. And it's very smartly schemed up. My gut feeling is I've never thought he has a pretty delivery system. I think it's really clunky. He struggled with accuracy, and Kyle's an impatient guy, and they gave up a lot of picks. And you got to make certain throws at about a 95% clip, or Kyle is not going to trust you. And my hunch here is he's not accurate enough. He didn't play a lot in college. He played for a dominant run offense, and they've got concerns. And they just don't want to say it. Can you just play him?
So that was most of what Cowherd said. He says, he doesn't. He has concerns. His gut is telling him. I don't think his gut is right. His gut's going to lead him to a L take. I mean, I just don't get why everybody's got to doubt the guy, right? Everybody's got to doubt Trey. And now Colin Cowherd's coming over here. He's getting in on the action. And again, I've said it many times. Whenever these guys go out there, whenever the media wants to sit there and talk about Trey, if they go negative, it's going to get views. It's going to get a lot of, a lot of attention. And it's funny because last year, I could have swore he was supporting Trey Lance. So I don't know where he switched up. I know there's rumors out there about Trey Lance and his daughter might have dated or whatnot. Maybe he's a salty dad. I don't know. I'm just going to throw that out there. But it's funny because all of a sudden this year, everybody's doubting Trey. All of a sudden, everybody's switching up on Trey. I don't know why. I don't get why. I don't get it. It's the media. They love to pick a topic and just run with it. And I hope they're wrong. I hope all of them are wrong. And a lot of times they are wrong. They just go out there and they talk and they spew all this stuff out. That's what people do. When you talk about sports, you got an opinion. You got to stand with it. So at least he's going to run with this. But it does seem like he switched up from last year. But again, it's weird. My man Cusco says Trey will prove all of them wrong. He will take the Niners to the playoffs. I agree. I definitely agree. I think that Trey will lead this team to the playoffs at least. I got us winning 11 games with Trey Lance under center. He's only going to get better as the season goes. Yes, there's going to be some ups and downs. But I think Trey Lance is going to be a very good quarterback with this team. And this offense is going to be dynamic. I mean, look at this team. You got Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, Trent Williams, with the additions of Danny Gray to go deep, Ray McLeod, you got Juwan Jennings. With Trey Lance, they just got to make sure that O-line is working good. And people forget we have Kyle Juszczyk too, another fullback, total weapon, a guy that can block as well. So this guy's a ultimate weapon. The team is great. They're solid. I'm not worried about this team right now. I'm not worried about Trey Lance. I'm not worried about this offense. He's only going to get in and get better. The more he goes out there, the more he learns, the more he plays, he'll only get better. So, everybody has high expectations of the guy, and I think it's rightfully so. They draft him with the number 3 pick, and I think he's going to exceed expectations. A lot of people are hoping for his downfall. I think he's going to be very good, and he's going to put up some great stats for his first year as a full-time quarterback, and it's going to be fun to watch. So, we can talk about Trey all day, all week. We're going to keep the receipts, just like Young Hood says. We are keeping him all day, all night. I'm excited. Trey Lance, man. All right, let's do about 3 more questions we'll get to, and then we'll call it a day for today. Tomorrow, again, OTAs are back with media coverage, so hopefully we get to see some great content out there, and we'll be talking about that as well. I'm excited. Football is getting back. We have 100 days left until the kickoff of the NFL season. Can you believe it? We are 100 days away from some NFL action. I can't believe it. Sad Niner fan says, I hope Shanahan unleashes Kittle this year. I hope he does too. I want to see George Kittle, the monster receiving tight end that he is, just unleashed on the league. I know he has to block a lot. I think that's going to be something he still does. He loves to block. He punishes opponents, and he loves doing it. He's been on record saying it. He would love to block all game if he had to. He loves the run game. But I think Trey Lance needs a safety blanket, a tight end like Kittle, to go out there and dominate and help him out. A young quarterback's best friend is a reliable tight end target, just like George Kittle. And I think if he can go out there and be the dominant Kittle that we know he can be, that is a massive W for Trey Lance and this offense. So I agree. I hope they release the beast. Unleash the beast. Sorry, I can't even get the word up. I hope they unleash the beast this year with George Kittle. So let's see. I think everyone will see why he didn't play as much. He was just learning the offense. Yeah, again, as a rookie last year, their plan was we're going to let him sit. We're going to learn. We're going to let him absorb everything. Whether you agree with that plan or not, that's what the Niners did with Trey Lance. They knew he was the future. They still were heavily invested in Jimmy, and they didn't cut him. They didn't get rid of him. They didn't trade him. They kept him on the roster with the intent of we have a quarterback here, and we have a young quarterback that's waiting in the wings. If anything happened to Jimmy, like in the other seasons, we have a solid quarterback to come in this time instead of what we had in the past, So I think that was their plan, and they were content with sitting Trey last year. But now, moving forward, Trey Lance season. So I agree with that comment. Very good. I think a lot of people don't realize that. The Niners were telling us last offseason, we're going to commit to Jimmy. Like, they kept telling us. And now the offseason, they're saying we're still trying to trade him. They know they're trying to get rid of him. Of course, the shoulder surgery complicated things. So they're kind of in this weird predicament. We'll see what happens. But regardless of if Jimmy's on the roster or not, I think the whole point is Trey Lance is taking over this season. And he's going to start to get his development going. And it's Trey Lance season. It's a new era. And we got to embrace it as fans. I love it. I'm excited. We'll see. Great question. Do you expect anything out of Sermon this season? I do expect him to be a little bit used more. So, they don't have Raheem Mostert anymore. The Niners love to rotate the running backs. I know Elijah Mitchell came out last year and just absolutely went crazy. They had injuries, and out of injuries came, someone that took their opportunity and ran with it. And that was Elijah Mitchell, who was really good last year when he went to training camp and everything. When he finally got in there, he looked solid. He took the opportunities that were given, and he really made a lasting impression on this coaching staff. I think Trey Sermon was expected to be a bigger part of this offense. Unfortunately, early going, he just wasn't getting his footing right. He had some injuries, some nagging injuries in preseason, if you remember, and then he had the neck injury. So I think he really got off to a slow start. But again, I think this offense, or not just this offense, but these rookies last year that they took, a lot of them were redshirt. A lot of them weren't going to get a lot of play. They had a lot of running backs last year, but they also had a lot of injuries. So it was kind of like, oh man, it was patchwork, backfield, and it was always rotating. Every week they were signing someone, in free agency to put on the practice squad just in case. And then Elijah Mitchell took a big leap, but the thing about it was, nobody expected Elijah to be where he was, and then he missed games too. So I think this year, because they know that they have a lot of injuries, that they have to use these running backs and keep their legs fresh. So you have Elijah, you have Ty Davis Price. I think he's going to get a lot of carries. As a rookie, he's a bulldozing type guy. But you also have Trey Sermon, and I think the addition of Anthony Lynn to the coaching staff is absolutely incredible, knowing that the fact he's used a lot of running backs similar to Sherman's skill set. So I think he'll be able to get the best out of him. And he's a guy that likes challenges, and he gets the best out of players that people don't expect. So I think Trey Sermon will have a better role this year, but it depends on how hard and how good he looks in training camp and practice, because Kyle Shanahan's really big. He's a big proponent of how good you're training, how good you look in practice, because if you don't look good on the practice field, he doesn't think you're going to look good on the playing field. So I think Trey Sermon will get a little bit more opportunities as long as he's coming in and doing the right things in practice. And from what I've seen from him, during his videos he's posted a lot of workout videos and a lot of training videos. He looks pretty fit this year. I think he looks a lot more lean. I think he looks a little bit quicker. I think that he's going to have a big bounce back season. And I think with Trey Lance in there, it's going to help his run game, because in college at Ohio State and in Oklahoma, he played with quarterbacks that were primarily, dual threat, dynamic, mobile type quarterbacks in college. So I think that served his skill set better. And I think they drafted him with the intent of playing him with Trey Lance in mind for this offense. So I think Trey Sermon will have a better year this year. Now you got to remember, this is their backfield. You got Elijah Mitchell. Hopefully he stays healthy. You got Jeff Wilson Jr. A lot of injuries last year too. Hopefully he can stay healthy. You got Ty Davis Price and then Trey Sermon. Those are your four key running backs. I think those are your four running backs that make it. And again, Trey Sermon, he can take a leap because there are injuries on this backfield. And I think he can take advantage of that. He just has to come in and prove, hey, man, look, this is what I worked on all off season. I'm ready, coach. That's all he needs is an opportunity and run with it. So I'm excited for this whole team. There's so many good players on this team. So we'll see. I do like Trey Sermon to bounce back this year. Let's take one more question, and then we'll call it a night for today. I am excited. Tomorrow, OTAs. Week 2, baby. Week 2. Let's get one more question out here, and we'll answer it for the masses. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the show today, live stream. It's always fun to come on here live and talk with you. Talk with the faithful, the Niner gang. It's always good times, especially after a long day of work. It's been a long, crazy, crazy day, but I always like to come home and talk Niners with the gang. So let's see. Any other questions? Let's take a look at the comments here. Let's see. I think that might be all the questions for today. If you got one more, throw it at me. If not, that I guess wraps it up for today. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll probably be live on Instagram later. We got one more question. There it is. Sad Niner fan. He says Lance stat prediction. So let's get into that. I know the Draft Network, they posted their stat predictions for Trey Lance. The other day, live with Smitty, I was on Instagram. This was several weeks ago. I stated my predictions, but let's tell you what the Draft Network has. They predicted Trey Lance stats as the following. They said 3,998 yards. They could have gave the man 4,000 yards. They didn't want to give it to him, whatever. They said 28 passing touchdowns, 706 rushing yards, which actually Smitty actually did say he would probably get 700 rushing yards. A lot of people said this is crazy. Smitty called it. So if he gets about 700 rushing yards, credit to Smitty on that one. And then they predict him to have 3 rushing touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Trey Lance having that many interceptions. Good night, Sally. He ain't Jimmy Garoppolo throwing them picks, but my stat prediction is he should have at least 4,000 yards passing. I said this. 4,000 yards passing. I think he'll get 650 yards rushing, although I could see him having more. My man Niner by Nature says 1,000 yards rushing. We'll see. I don't think he's that run-first quarterback. He's looking to pass it, and then he can run. but I think he'll have 650 yards rushing. I think he's going to have 34 touchdown passing. He's going to have 34 passing touchdowns easily. I'm telling you, he's going to get 34 passing touchdowns. I had him down for 8 to 9 interceptions. I say 9 interceptions. And rushing touchdowns, I got him at 5. That's what I said the other day. I said 5 rushing touchdowns, 30. He's going to have 35 passing touch. 34, what did I say? 35 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, 40 total touchdowns, 4,000 yards passing, at least 650 yards rushing. Trey Lance, and 9 interceptions. That's his stats. He's gonna kill it this year. Young Butt gonna go wild on everybody. I'm telling you, he might throw more than 9 picks, but I expect him to throw 9. That's it. That's it. What do you guys think his stats? Drop it in the comments. I love you guys. Let's see what your guys' your stat line is, and I'll read a couple of them out, and then we'll call it a day. Trey Lance, baby. You know he's coming for blood. We all know he is. It's receipt season. Yes, sir, it is, Niner by nature. It is receipt season. They better keep them damn receipts, I'm telling you, because you guys all keep the receipts, because these media outlets, everybody in the media, big media, they do not want to see the Niners succeed. They don't want to see the Niners shine. They always pour doubt on us, and I think they do it because they get clout off of it. Niner by nature says 4,000 yards passing, 600 yards rushing. That's pretty much what I think. It's a done deal. I think he's going to get 4,000 yards passing. I just see it. I think he's going to be able to hit those big time, big deep throws, those play action. But like there was a few times last year he hits just like 60-yard touchdown. Those types of plays add up. You start racking up the yards, the stats. Boom, 60 yards. Boom, Danny Gray. Boom, Debo. Boom, you. It's going to be nice. Young Blood says 35 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I like it. I like it. I love it. I love it. Let's take it. Let's take it all the way, man. Trey Lance to the moon. Trey Lance to the moon, baby. Y'all have a good rest of your day. We'll be live on Instagram later. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. I love you so much. Take care. Bang, bang. Niner gang. Niner by nature. Last comment. He says, if Jimmy can throw for 3,800 yards while missing 2.5 games, so can Trey. That's the way to leave alive. Right there. Hang that, pin that question or that comment. That is exactly, let's read it one more time. If Jimmy can throw for 3,800 yards while missing 2.5 games, so can Trey. That is so hardcore facts right there. That's it. That's it. Facts, baby. 100%. You have never told me a lie. Y'all have a good night. That's the way to end it, baby.